Wife is planning to leave me / has left me for my best friend, and they've already started trying to get pregnant. I guess I should call him my former best friend at this point, but it's hard to accept it's all gone just like that. You spend so many years with a person building a relationship, and one day it all turns to dust. I've known him since high school, back / 15 years ago. He was like a brother to me and like a son to my parents. When we were younger we were at each other's houses all the time. He was always coming with my family on trips and I did the same with his family. We've done so much together. He was the best man at my wedding and I would have been the best man at his wedding. Many trips and nights spent out together. Many times we helped each other. Many conversations about life, love and ourselves. He was always my go-to person in tight situations and when I needed advice. It's hard to say how much losing him hurts, because for whatever else he is, he was always there for me when I needed him and a solid source of advice. He was a true friend, until he wasn't. It may be as big of a blow to lose him as losing my wife. I've been married to my wife for almost 5 years, but we've been together for 7. I remember when we first met. Love at first sight. She was gorgeous and had these really piercing blue eyes and a really infectious laugh. We hit it off and to my surprise she accepted when I asked her out, even though I felt like she was out of my league. I fell even more in love with her as we got to know each other. She had such a passion for life and helping people. She was so kind and gentle with everyone, just a really warm person, and that made me love her more. I loved being married to her, and I always felt our marriage was great, not even just good. I was not one of those husbands that let himself go. I took care of myself and ate well. I remembered all of our anniversaries and special dates. When she talked to me I listened and paid attention. I took an interest in her life genuinely because I loved her and it was important to me, but I also gave her space and avoided being too needy or clingy. I made sure to do my part around the house. I cleaned as much as she did. Our romance life was great, as far as I could tell. I did my best to love her and care for her the way a husband should and show her she was appreciated. I tried my best to keep dating her after we married. I can say without any doubt that I never took her for granted. I don't know what else I could have done. I have asked myself that over and over again, and I still don't know. I wonder if I did too much. Did she think I was too much of a pushover? Did she not respect me? I'm not saying our marriage was perfect. We did have arguments, but they were never major ones. The trouble started when my best friend broke up with his girlfriend. He was pretty upset about it and took it hard. I talked to him, but my wife asked me one day if I cared if she went out for a coffee with him to talk and give him a woman's view / opinion. I told her that was fine with me. She and my best friend were also friends. We'd done couples trips with my friend and his girlfriend and she'd also hung out with him tons because he was around me so much. I didn't think anything of it because their relationship never seemed inappropriate. I do remember him saying I was lucky and she was attractive when we first started dating and when I married her, but there were no inappropriate jokes or anything like that. My wife might have said he was handsome at some point, but that was it. I saw no red flags, and even after thinking about it more, I still don't see any. I never saw anything which made me think there was every chance of them being more than friends. When my wife came back from coffee she seemed a bit off. She was really angry with his ex and said that he deserved better. I remember telling her something like he's young and he'll mend in time, and she seemed very upset by this. She said that he needed time and that whatever girl ended up with him would be very lucky and his ex was a fool to leave him. I may be misremembering parts of that conversation, but that was the basic gist. She was very sparse on details and very vague, but it didn't seem weird to me at that time. It seemed like she was being protective the same way I would be protective of him as my friend. Her behavior started getting stranger after that night. She wasn't doing anything really overt or suspicious, but she was vague about what she was doing. She would say that she's going to see one of her friends or to run an errand. Stuff like that. I'm not a controlling person and she'd never given me a reason to doubt her, so I didn't make an issue out of it. And really at that time I didn't find it so strange. I noticed my friend was being weird too, but I thought it was because of his split and him being sad. I would invite him to hang out, and he'd turn me down, which was unusual. He never had a reason other than he was busy. I started seeing less and less of him, and when I did see him he was different. I would not say nervous, but definitely seemed not to be comfortable. He sent me a message asking me to stop by his house one day. He said we needed to talk about some things and he had to get some stuff off his chest. I drove over there not suspecting anything. I knocked on the door and he came to answer. I tried to make some jokes and light conversation, and he completely ignored me. He asked me to go into the living room and there was my wife sitting on his couch. I don't know if I knew at that moment, but I did feel a sense of dread start to come over me. She started crying almost as soon as I walked in, and he jumped right in and told me that there was no easy way to say what he was about to say, but he and my wife were in love and wanted to be together. I stood there completely stunned. I felt like I wasn't even alive for a while. When I started to come back to my senses, they both tried to say how sorry they were and that they both loved me and regret it happening. They told me that this just happened and they never intended for things to turn out like this. They knew they were wrong, but it didn't matter because they were in love. They both promised that they had not had romance and it was only an emotional affair. I'm not sure if that is true or not, but I don't know if it really matters. And that is basically where we are now. Since that day I've gotten more texts from them apologizing and ones from my wife asking if I'm okay and telling me she's here for me and still cares for me. But I mostly ignore them. They aren't as frequent anymore either. She decided to move out of our house. I didn't ask her where she was going, but a friend of mine told me that she moved in with my former friend as soon as she left. That was only a few months ago. She stopped by the house a few days ago to pick up some things. I tried to avoid her, but then she asked me if I had a second. She told me that she and my former friend are trying to get pregnant. She wanted to give me a heads up so that we can deal with it as we go through our divorce. She also wanted to tell me personally because she felt like I deserved to know and hear it from her. It hurt so much to hear how she's already moving on. We wanted to have children together, but she wanted to wait until she turned 30. Now he's going to get to be the father to her children and I'm going to have to watch her carry his child. I am here looking for any advice you can give me. I don't know how to deal with her getting pregnant. I feel like that's going to be a struggle and source of pain once it happens. I feel so jealous of him because he's getting the life I wanted with her. I also know that her getting pregnant is really the end. Once that happens there's no chance we could reconcile. I have considered asking her to try counseling, but I haven't because I doubt she would be interested since she wants him and a life together with him. I also don't know how to process all of this. I don't know how they could both do something like this or how I could not see it. I don't understand why she left when we were happy. I feel like I don't believe in anything anymore. If you can't trust your wife and best friend and a marriage doesn't last with as much effort as I put in, then nothing is real and life is all one big lie. Life just isn't fair sometimes. Edit, a typo update. First of all, I want to thank everyone who commented and everyone who sent me messages of support. The last few days have been the best I've had since my wife left. I feel like I'm at least able now to think of what comes next. I really don't know how to thank you all, but just know that the support I've gotten has helped. I don't have much of an update, but I thought you guys deserved to know about a few things. 1. I decided I am going to message my former friend's ex to see what her version of the breakup is. Nothing may come of it, but I think I have to at least see if I can find out anything else. 2. I had talked to one attorney but haven't really gotten serious about a lawyer. Next week I will start a serious look for one. My friends and family have given me some recommendations, so I will go through their list. 3. I don't know when I will start it, but I'm pretty sure I'll enroll in some type of counseling. I don't feel like my mental state right now is very good, and I don't think I have the tools to pull myself out of this. I need help. 4. I am thinking of writing to my wife and ex-friend. A lot of you asked me why I didn't do anything to him when they told me, and that bothered me because I realized I never took the change to tell them how I feel and how they've hurt me. I feel like they need to know even if they don't care. 5. There were a lot of other suggestions about things to do to help deal with the situation. I'm going to make some changes around my house to try and make things more comfortable here until I can move. I will also try to keep myself busy, but in reality the hard part so far has been nights when I am alone and it is quiet like now.
Hey guys, please like, comment, and subscribe. It would really help me out, thanks.
You need to accept the fact that your wife is a very calculating and deceptive person. They did all of this behind your back and she kept you in the dark while they started their relationship. Her feelings for you were long gone before they dumped this on you. Your friend is trash and don't buy into any nonsense of checking up on you, caring for you or being there for you. That is so pathetic and disingenuous that it is sickening. Telling you about her plans to get pregnant with him was not her being considerate, it was her trying to do some type of damage control. But it does tell you to get your legal affairs in order and push the divorce ahead as fast as possible to avoid potential paternity issues in the future and get these two snakes out of your life. You also need to make everyone in your family and friends aware of exactly what these two have done. The best thing you should do is never have any contact with your friend again at all. Make your ex aware that other than topics concerning the divorce you will discuss nothing else and that there will be no friendship or small talk. Avoid any place that they may be and keep things strictly business and let your attorney deal with her as much as possible. Make it a point to get everything that belongs to her out of your residence ASAP and then go as hard no contact as you can. Block them on everything. Get yourself into therapy so that you can rebuild your self-esteem, heal and move on to build a fulfilling life for yourself. It is a blessing that you did not have kids with this woman. You need to take care of yourself. Eat right, exercise and get good sleep. Reach out and know that you are not alone. I am pulling for you. I gotta be honest with you man, I started crying as I read this. I'm a 25-year-old man who's crying because it hurts to see someone else go through the same thing I had to endure. Last year, I found out my girlfriend of 4 years was cheating on me with my best friend of 16 years. That man was my brother since the first day of school. And then he chose to do this to me. I was in a real dark place after it happened and I can only assume you are in one as well. It was even worse when they started dating a week later, though that relationship crashed and burned quickly. But I will tell you, there is light at the end of the tunnel. I plead for you, once the divorce is finalized, block her on everything. Phone, email, social media, anything that she can use to get to you. You should have already done this with your ex-best friend. For me, my ex-best friend and ex-girlfriend are dead to me. I haven't heard from them in probably 18 months and I'm doing so well right now. I'm healthy, have a good job, have a great relationship with family and the people who actually care about me. I'm still not ready to date, but that's okay. I know that there's a woman out there that will be better than my ex. And it's the same with you buddy. Remember, it's okay to cry and to get therapy. Believe me, therapy works wonders and can speed up the process of getting back to 100%. You're gonna be alright, man. Just give it some time. Boyfriend has stopped being romantic completely. So, my boyfriend M18 has stopped being romantic to me, F18, completely. We got together sometime in early July, but we had started hanging out in May. We hit it off really well and soon we started hanging out every day. It was really nice, as I haven't been in many relationships, not to mention good ones. He was very sweet, complimented me without being prompted or asked, and never talked to me like I was stupid, which is really important to me. It was like he was genuinely interested in me, my family liked him and it felt like we both genuinely liked each other. The issue of college comes in. As this was during the summer, we could hang out all the time but we both knew he'd be leaving for school. While this was sad, it was only a few-hour drive back and forth and it was a drive that I was willing to make to see him, and one he seemed fine in making, too. I knew things would change, as he would be busy and I was willing to accept that. It would be unfair of me to demand his attention all the time. Since leaving for school, I began to see things change. They were the expected things. He was stressed out more and busy and overall not as romantic. Which was fine. I expected that and knew there would be days or even weeks where he'd be distant. He still made the effort to talk, which I always appreciated because it let me know he was important. He complimented me when I sent him photos and we still flirted back and forth. I still complimented him and let him know I missed him and was thinking of him. I could see a slight decline in him wanting to flirt and such, so I backed off as to not be overwhelming for him. He caught COVID from school and had to come back home. Obviously we couldn't see each other, as I didn't have a way to quarantine away from family in case he was still contagious. It was probably a few weeks into the school year. It sucked, but I thought we could always see each other another weekend. That hasn't happened. It's been about 2 months and he's completely stopped acting like we're dating. He's been in town a few times and hasn't seen me. I accepted this as him being busy, but it's a little disheartening when I offer to take off work to go up and see him and he ignores my attempts and nothing ever goes through. I still compliment him. I listen to him talk about his hobbies and ask questions about them since I know that's important to him, and he's been stressed out with school, so I try to support him and let him know I'm here for him if he needs anything. But he doesn't compliment me anymore. I've started working out, and while I was already skinny and physically ideal by most standards, I didn't feel attractive before. He's made no supportive comments about it, or comments about it at all, and when I mentioned my workout routine, he says I should push myself more. When I send him photos of myself or outfits he just goes nice and that's it. I can only think of one time he actually complimented me and it made my whole day better because I hadn't heard him say anything good about me like that in a long time. I had to hear him go on a rant about how the field of school I wanted to go into sucked and how most people don't make it. He says he's too busy to be involved in things important to me when I try to talk about it. I sort of had a bad day and was venting, which I feel bad about doing now as I didn't want to burden him with my problems when he has his own, but what really alarmed me was how he said you could just delete yourself. I understand the context and what he was trying to say. As I said, I have no control over things in my life like when I live or die. But as someone who has tried to delete themselves, it felt like a really jarring thing to say. I'm not sure what I should do. I don't know how to bring up his 180 in behavior, as I don't want to make a big deal if it's just the fact he doesn't have the energy to be romantic, but it's been affecting me negatively as it really feels like he's not interested at all. I've studied on different love languages to see if maybe ours are just different and have tried expressing my affection different, but I still see no change and it makes me feel kind of helpless. Does anyone have any advice on how I can bring this up to him, or if I'm just being too needy and should just wait it out? Sorry for the long read, this was my first post. Too long, didn't read. Boyfriend has stopped being romantic or affectionate. I'm worried I'm just being needy or missing his signals, and I'm wondering if I should ask him about it or if I should just wait it out until things get easier for him at school. Update: boyfriend has stopped being romantic completely. I just want to say thank you to the original people who commented and reached out to me. I was very emotional at the time and needed some sense talked into me. That day I made the post, I was supposed to hang out with my friend and her friends, so I had sat down with them and asked for advice. They basically said the same thing everyone here did, and I guess seeing their in-person reaction to me explaining everything that had happened made it click that something was really wrong. After getting over my fears of me being right, I asked him if he still wanted to be with me. While he didn't say no, he said he enjoyed his newfound independence from school and not having to worry about anyone else. This confirmed what I already knew, and I knew he wouldn't directly say he didn't want to be with me anymore. But I still got my answer in a way. While I'm hurt, I think I had already grieved the relationship during it, since I spent a lot of time crying and wondering what had happened between us. At least now I can move on instead of holding on to every small sign that he might still like me. I wish he could have just been upfront sooner, and just told me he didn't want a relationship when I kept trying to flirt or be romantic instead of just ignoring those moments, as it just left me confused, and I wish I could have avoided this completely, but I suppose it's a lesson learned. I deserve someone who's going to reciprocate my feelings and affection, so I'm excited to see what happens now. Thank you guys for the kind words and advice. One lesson I wish I had learned earlier in life, I'm 36 and happily married now, was that if a relationship is confusing, it's not working. When in a happy functional relationship you won't feel confused. People are often cowards when it comes to breakups. They are afraid to hurt your feelings, so instead they lie and conceal how they feel, which ends up being even more painful. That's why you feel confused. Realizing this will make it a lot easier to know when to move on in the future and probably save a lot of heartache. Less than 3. This will be a huge weight lifted from your heart before you know it. Being direct is so important and saves so much pain in the long run, even if the experience isn't pleasant, aka is devastatingly sad, when it's happening. You're better off and you'll be just fine. Be gentle with yourself and focus on self-care and having talks with friends or finding little distractions. That's been what I've been doing. I've taken a few days off work to see my friends and do things like clean and care for myself. I really spent a lot of time worrying over him and the situation that I didn't give myself any outlets for myself, since I think I only had the capacity to worry about one thing at a time. At least I have the relief now. Thank you, smile.